Inside the Deck is brought to you by CoolStuffInc.com, sellers of Magic the Gathering and many other card and board games. GatheringMagic.com, your #1 resource on Magic the Gathering, strategy, and culture.
Basically, it's a tournament where all the best players in the world from different countries and everything come in the same room and play the game that we all love.
I am Jace Belair.
And I am Stoneforge Mystic.
It's just a really amazing game.
That's just mind-boggling to even think about. I guess the rest is history.
At Pro Tour Philadelphia, we interviewed some players about the brand new modern format, and there was a lot of skepticism. But at Worlds, many players were slowly appreciating the new format. Now with more cards banned from its already long banning list, Modern will feature a diverse format in this PTQ season. We will break down all the major decks and give you a broad look at what this season will look like. Before we delve into the deck list, I will briefly explain the Modern format. This format is like Extended, except the card selection starts with Mirrodin block and 8th edition core set, making a total of 6 core sets and 9 blocks to choose from. This wide selection can be tough when constructing a deck, so we will list the major archetypes players have been playing since its first iteration. Currently, the Modern metagame is still dominated by Aggro, but this format has a healthy dose of combo and control. Here is a list of the major decks that have been successfully played since Pro Tour Philly. I will go through each one so that you know how these decks play. For Aggro, you have Zoo, Delver, Affinity, and Jund. Combo has various blue-red decks, Nauseam, Hive Mind, and Melira Pod. Control plays with Gifts, Teachings, Tron, Cruel Ultimatum, and Death Cloud. It is apparent that Control and Combo are the underdogs, while Aggro is the deck to beat. Some major cards that you will run into, no matter what deck you're playing, are Card Disruption and cheap powerful creatures. When building a deck, you will have to prepare yourself to battle these two kinds of cards, but you must also be aware of the many tricky combos that are out there. With its many variations, Blue-Red combo will be the most popular. You will most likely run into a deck that plays Splinter Twin with Deceiver Exarch and Pestermite. This deck wins by summoning infinite creatures with haste. The other Blue-Red combo deck is Storm. It uses a couple of Storm spells to finish off their opponent with said ability, and both of these Blue-Red combo decks might run Pyromancer Ascension as another win condition. Another combo deck uses Nauseam. This deck wins by drawing infinite cards from Nauseam with Angel's Grace or Phyrexian Unlife, and finishes their opponent with Conflagrate or Lightning Storm. Hive Mind is another combo that works with the packed cards from Future Sight. They simply play Hive Mind followed by playing one of the packed spells. This will force their opponent to pay the upkeep cost on their turn, which if played correctly, forces them to lose. And the final combo deck uses Birthing Pod. We all know what Birthing Pod can do from last year's standard tournaments, but with at least 20 more sets to select from, this deck can prove to be a menace. Melira Pod runs a 3-creature combo of Melira, Viscera Seer, and Kitchen Finks for infinite life, or Melira, Viscera Seer, and Murtis Redcap for infinite damage. And when you play against a deck like this, you must be aware of the other creatures they can pod for to change the state of the game. At Worlds, many players were playing with different variations of Zoo, and now with Wild Nacatl banned, Zoo is weaker, but it doesn't mean players will continue to pilot it. When looking at Zoo, you have to expect players to run Step Lynx, Lone Lion, and Curd Ape as their 1-drops, and other versions will add in Snapcaster Mage or Tribal Flames. You should also be aware of the insurgence of Delver of Secrets. There are a few variations that use this creature along with other low-casting spells to gain tempo over their opponent. This new creature has been a powerhouse in the current Standard and Legacy metagame, so don't be surprised to see it do well in Modern. Another aggro deck to watch out for is Affinity. It is a worse version of the classic Affinity decks, but is still fast and runs Fling to sack creatures with Cranial Plating equipped, or even a Pump Arcbound Ravager or Atog. Another version runs a Ryo to completely hose their opponent when flipped. And some even run Tezzeret, Agent of Bolas. The final aggro deck is Jund. It runs a little bit of everything and casts cheap effective creatures like Bloodbraid Elf to overwhelm you. Liliana of the Veil is also added to this deck for extra control. Many players have already claimed this deck as the best because it is hard to sideboard against and is very versatile. Combo and Aggro are the strongest decks, but you must still be prepared for control. Gifts Ungiven is used with a couple of control decks. The standard Gifts control deck conjures all kinds of cards to win them the game. The second is Tron. Tron runs all 3 Urza lands to cast large artifacts and colorless spells, like the Eldrazi creatures and Karn Liberated. It uses gifts as an instant tutor to help search what they need during the game. Another control deck that tutors for cards is Teachings. It runs mystical teachings to tutor for various instant spells. Snapcaster Mage also complements the deck, and it usually wins by casting White Sun's Zenith. Another control deck is Cruel Ultimatum. Just like its legacy counterpart, you play a Grixis control deck with Cruel Ultimatum as one of your main winning cards. It also runs other powerful instants and sorceries. The last of the control decks is Death Cloud. It could almost be categorized as aggro or even combo, but one thing is that this deck likes to disrupt the opponent's hand. Liliana the Veil complements it, and Death Cloud plus Garruk equals game win. It is also known to play aggressively by casting creatures like Tarmogoyf and Dark Confidant early in the game. So there you have it. All the major decks you should expect when encountering your local modern PTQ. It is a lot to know about, but this should be a fun format. The only problem you'll have now is what deck to play. It is also known to play aggressively by casting creatures like Tarmogoyf.
Tarmogoyf.
Tarmogoyf, okay.